Are they listening to us? Are they listening to us? We were talking about having a worldwide leaderboard, and as that was happening, CrossFit created a worldwide leaderboard on the CrossFit Games site. And are they listening to us? Are they listening to us? And then we were talking about the fact that all these scores for workout number 3 could not possibly be real and didn't make any sense. And as we were having that conversation, they started disappearing from the leaderboard. Are they listening to us? Are they listening to us?
Yo, so I got to make another one of these, and I'm going to probably just name it the CrossFit Has Fucked Up series. And why am I naming it this? It's because they keep on doing things that aren't really the best. They're releasing the workouts early. This one actually is much worse because when they release the workouts early, whatever, you have an extra 40 minutes to do them, maybe you have a couple extra hours to know what they are before you release the password to do them. It doesn't really hurt anybody, but this one is hurting a lot of people. Not physically, maybe emotionally, but definitely within their placing on the leaderboard within the quarterfinals events this weekend. So it might be their worst mess up yet. This has to do with workout number 3 in the quarterfinals. Yesterday, the leaderboard finalized. It says so in the rule book, and from a couple of the athletes that I know, they got the email saying, hey, preferred places to compete, travel restrictions, that sort of thing. Last year when I made the semifinals, I got the email saying, hey, what are your preferred preferences on places? So it's kind of the order of operations. It's not an official invite, but it's almost like they're just getting ready to invite you to certain places. Now, the leaderboard finalized yesterday evening. It said so in the rule book. I'm not sure anywhere I've seen CrossFit actually posting this, so it is entirely possible that they're still going over some of these things, which in all reality, they really should. They should go back and they should adjust some of these things. Although they said the deadline was on the 1st, and it means that they aren't doing things in a timely fashion and they aren't abiding by their own rules, they should still be going back and fixing these freaking scores. And I'm going to tell you why. Brian Friend was on the Savant podcast the other night, and Brian Friend is one of the smartest freaking people in the sport, and it almost appears as if he cares more about the sport, background of all of it, and the athletes and every other continent than anybody that works for freaking CrossFit at this point. And it appears as if he's noticing the same things that I'm noticing. And it's not too much of a stretch. What's he got to say?
Click on workout 3 and sort from the top down. I'm not buying any of these scores as legitimate scores until you get down to Jeff Adler at 34. The rest of these guys, you can just look at their placements in the world. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah. So this will all be fixed, and these scores will all look very different in a couple of days from now. The guys that have 189, 203, 241, all those scores will just go up.
So here's what Brian's talking about. You look at the leaderboard, you look at people's scores, you look at their scores on workout number 3. When an athlete has a score of workout number 3 that is very and vastly different than their other scores, you have very good reason to believe that they probably did half of the shuttle runs. It's something that we know is happening. We hear it all over the place. Plenty of athletes have even posted to their Instagram saying, oops, I did the wrong number of shuttle runs. I did half. I didn't read the instructions. You think they'd read the instructions, but people aren't reading the instructions. On the shuttle runs, there's a round of 4. That's the first round you got to do, right? You got to go down, back, down, back, down, back, down, back. So down and back is 1. That's in the rules. It's in the instructions for the workout. But what it appears a lot of these athletes did is they went down, back, down, back. That was it. They did the half of the number of reps for the entirety of the shuttle runs. And if you do half of the reps for the entirety of the shuttle runs, it's going to give you a much quicker score. And you're going to see that when people have comparable scores to people like Jeff Adler, who's talked about later. Jeff Adler, we know he is proven to be one of the fittest people on earth. It's very odd to see somebody with scores of 1,000, 1,000 on the first 2 workouts, 1,000, 1,000 on workouts 4 and 5, and then on workout number 3, they're competing with Jeff Adler. And you're going to say, yeah, it's totally possible that some people would compete, but not the number of people at this spectrum. So it's brought up in the show, and I'm bringing it up now. And it's very clear that a lot of these athletes need to have their scores either taken out or at least reach out to these athletes and ask for video evidence of proof of these scores.
This is a huge, huge undertaking to score this kind of a competition. So, and it's a big team across probably the whole world that's doing it and reviewing these videos and whatever. But this is something that should have been on their radar really early. It's been over 24 hours now.
So yes, I do agree that it's a huge undertaking, but it is also something that they put upon themselves. So back in the years when we had regionals, that was what they were doing with their undertaking. And I understood that they lost money at regionals, but this is something that they didn't have to do when they had the regionals competition. They didn't have to do all these video checkings. So when you have the competition that you're putting on, you are putting yourself in the position to say that, hey, I'm going to make sure that the correct people are fitting into the designated spots. And in North America, it's 120. And in other countries, it's 30. You got to make sure that the right people are getting in there. You've got to do your due diligence. It's what you signed up for, saying, hey, this is what we we've got. The athletes are paying $50 to get in here. And I mean, that's nothing that's all that cheap. You take $50 and you multiply the number of people competing and you're making a pretty good amount of money. You use that money to pay the people who are checking the video. There's people like Brian Friend and I on the internet looking at these videos, and we can tell like that there's something wrong with them. You would think that the people who are putting on the competition could do the same thing. And it almost appears as if they're listening to people like us and doing it retroactively.
Oh my, wait. His workout was actually adjusted. His time was adjusted probably very, very recently to 118 reps. So this is exactly what I thought would happen. He had done half the shuttle run. So they're assessing some kind of a penalty here. It says he got 8 shuttle runs after the 32 wall ball shots. But basically, I think they're not crediting him for any shuttle runs after the actual amount that he did in the workout. Jeff Adler, who was in 34th on this workout, is all the way up to 26 already. So are they listening to us? Are they listening to us?
So at this point in my life, I'm not a big believer in coincidences. It's very odd to see something happening like that at the exact time that that's happening. It's almost as if there's somebody watching them speak and they're just taking scores out because it makes way too much sense. It's like, oh yeah, duh, take that score out. That person didn't beat Jeff Adler, and we're still saying that. And at the time of this podcast, which was 5 days ago now, it was rather hopeful that they were going to go ahead and fix all of this stuff, and I wouldn't be having to make this video now 5 days later, after they said that they were finalizing the leaderboard. So I'm making this video because they have finalized the leaderboard, as I had shown you per the rule book, and the issue with this is the cut line. So what it looks like is it looks like they stopped at Jeff Adler. You go to North America, and I always reference North America because it's what I know the best. I don't want to speak about the things that I don't know the best, but it is also apparent that this is happening everywhere, not just here. On this workout, you can see that Jeff Adler is the one who finished towards the top. You see that he finished towards the top, first in the workout in the region, that being North America, and second you got Marshall Creed. His ranking overall is 110, so you can still believe that that score is rather possible. But then in third place, you got Brian Sanchez at 991st. That's his ranking in the region overall. And then next you got Aaron Hernandez at 11-12. Those are their positions, and when you look at every other workout that they've done, when you compare it to workout number 3, workout 3 is a huge outlier. And either they hit the wheelhouse of all wheelhouses, or they did half the shuttle runs. Or it's a combination of both of those things, which would give them a time in the low 13s, being a comparable time to then Jeff Adler. I look at it, it's clear as day. Brian Friend looks at it, it's clear as day. CrossFit doesn't even appear to have taken this into consideration, which is a very, very, very bad thing, because these are just the top 5 people in North America. On this page alone, you can go down to 6th and 8th. So there are now 4 out of the top 10 scores right there, which are probably not going to be verified scores. All I got to do is reach out to these people and ask for video evidence of these things. They need to do this, they being CrossFit, because these are very impactful scores when it comes into the cut line. If I scroll down a little bit further, the person in 15th place also looks like it's an outlier score. And then in 19th, 20th, and 21st, those also appear to be outlier scores. I actually know the person in 20th. His name is Alex Soroka. Alex Soroka has outwardly gone to email CrossFit and say, hey, my score is invalid. I know I messed up. I don't want to look like an idiot. I want my correct score in there. Is there anything that we can do about this? I would have to bet to say that a lot of the athletes didn't cheat. None of these people are cheating. They just didn't know the rules. They didn't read it. They didn't know they had to go down and back for 1 rep. They were just going 1, 2, 3, 4 on their shuttle runs. And when they figured it out, when people were bringing it to their attention, they're like, oh shit, I got to fix this. Alex Soroka is one of those people. He's currently sitting in 20th. Now imagine if you're anywhere from 1st, where Jeff Adler is, all the way down to possibly like 600th. Those are going to be impacting the cut line, which I want to look at right now.
You know, we're choosing to have this podcast right now, and we are fully aware that the leaderboard is going to change. It is not official, but it's cool to see. And look, all those things that are changing, they're going to affect the points. They're not going to affect the big storylines.
So Brian says here, he was hopeful that the leaderboard was going to change. He thought it would change. It was changing while they were making the show. And when I'm making this one, I've already spoken about how it is not changing. It has not changed the day after the freaking validation of the leaderboard, and you can see that everything still remains the same. Now, this is the second year of quarterfinals, and from what it looks like, they're scrutinizing the absolute shit out of one workout. And it doesn't really take much brain power to understand which workout that is. It almost appears as if nobody in the world knows how to do a hip extension or a knee extension when you do a pistol. It's almost as if you shouldn't be putting pistols in a workout because you can't even see one side of it from a camera. There's no way in hell for, even if you wanted to judge a pistol the right way, you wouldn't be able to see the opposite leg. So if I were facing that way, you'd only be able to see the left leg. If I were facing that way, you'd only be able to see the right leg. Why are they even having pistols? And in what world is it a good idea for that to be the workout in which you you want to be the most scrutinous. Everyone and their freaking brother was penalized on that workout with a major penalty. There wasn't a minor penalty. There were no invalid videos. It's just like, hey, that wasn't quite perfect. Maybe it was 99.5% of the way there, but here's a major penalty. And then I also have pointed out, especially on my Instagram story, plenty of athletes who aren't extending their hips on the freaking handstand push-ups. I made a YouTube video about how the barbells probably weren't all correct, but it doesn't appear as if CrossFit's going through those videos either. However, they did adjust Austin Gahoy's score, and I feel like we put some pressure on them to do that. And also, I've seen a bunch of people with their feet on the line on the power snatch workout, and that's an issue too. They catch the snatch, they walk forward, their foot hits the line. I know that's an issue because I did it last year on the power snatch workout, and I got penalized for it. But that workout, there were a lot of other penalties as well. It wasn't just that workout. Last year, it seemed as if they were very, very, very scrutinous on the first workout being the handstand push-up one. And on this year, it looks like they're being very, very scrutinous on the workout being the pistol workout. And it's almost as if they're just saying, hey, go ahead and do whatever you want. As long as you did some wall balls, you did some shuttle runs, and you did some rope climbs, you're good to go. That's what it looks like, and that's not very cool. It also looks like they took a little bit of heat from the initial Savant podcast where Brian Fred was talking about all these people beat Jeff Adler. They beat Jeff Adler by freaking 2 minutes. How is it possible? At some point here, he brings up Owen Bernstein, and it looks like CrossFit did dock down Owen Bernstein's score.
His workout was actually adjusted. His time was adjusted probably very, very recently to 118 reps. So this is exactly what I thought would happen. So he had done half the shuttle runs.
That's only because they were in front of Jeff Adler. It's almost like they did the least possible work and they took out the scores above the first name that they realized was a good score, that being Jeff Adler. But the second there's a person right underneath them or two people underneath them, being the Aaron Hernandez and Brian Sanchez, then they just stop looking because it doesn't seem like they're even looking at those videos. Yeah, there's a lot of freaking people, but as we've already talked about, that cut line, there are athletes who have very, very impressive scores. Lucas Parker is a very good example of them. Lucas Parker, we know that he probably read the rules. He's a very analytical dude. You know that from his history at the CrossFit Games, which he's competed at. From what we know of Lucas Parker, he finished well on workouts 1, workouts 2, workouts 4, and workouts 5. On workout 3, it's likely he did all the shuttle runs. It's also likely that there are a handful of people in between his position and first that need to go away. That would then bring his score up, and he would probably make the semifinals based solely out of the fact that there's a bunch of scores in there that shouldn't be there. CrossFit, leaving these things out, is keeping Lucas Parker, former games athlete and very good competitor, out of the semifinals. This is applying to a lot of people in Europe. It's applying to the female side in North America, and you've got to assume that it's happening everywhere a lot. And of course, we can't just talk about these things without coming up with a solution, right? Now, I've actually spoken with a couple of people about this, and what has seemed to be maybe one of the best ideas, we're doing this because we're worried about a certain subset of people, worried about the people who aren't possibly filling up the spots that are needed to go to the semifinals. For North America, that's the 120. For the other regions, there's different numbers, 30 or 60. It's the male side, it's the female side, it's the Europe, it's the Asia, it's the Oceania, it's all of the regions, and it all applies to all of it. And what we're doing is we're telling CrossFit that, hey, if you want to have the online quarterfinal competition, in place of something live like a regional, then you got to make sure that you're getting the right people where they got to go. In regionals, it's like, hey, you make things on the spot, and you say, this is what happens, and it makes sense. In the quarterfinal thing, this is clearly not making sense. They're clearly looking at one workout much more harshly than they're looking at another workout or workouts, maybe not even looking at a workout at all, and maybe avoiding any sort of information given to them, like in the Alex Soroka situation, to take these workouts out, get the proper athletes in. And I always kind of think it comes down to money. There's got to be a certain number of people on the CrossFit end of things who can look at these things. And I noted somewhere, I think that a team in relation to a region is as large as 25 people. Now, if you want more people, you probably need more money to pay these people to look at these workouts. So what do you do? And unfortunately, I think it comes down to the athletes that are asking for these videos to be submitted. In a way, you're asking for these athletes to be professional, correct? So the people that I'm mentioning, the Lucas Parkers, I've mentioned Gunnar Reagan in the past, they're just outside the cut line. They want the videos looked at. They want to make sure everyone's doing everything the right way. They want to make sure they have a fair shot to get in. Now, I think that there's going to have to be a price to pay to play. Is it fair? Sure. It's going to have to be fair. I think that this is something that you need to do when you sign up for the Open. You sign up for the Open, you know whether or not you have a chance to go to a semifinal. Don't tell me you're going to accidentally roll into a semifinal just signing up for the Open. What's my intent? My intent on my team is to go to the semifinals. And I'm assuming there would have to be then a larger price to pay to play. There's also an entire population of people, the vast population of people, has no intention on going there. So they would pay their $20 for the Open. If they make the quarterfinal, they can pay their $50 to do the quarterfinal workouts. That's entirely fine. Now, if you want to be a professional athlete and you want to get into the top 120 and and you want to make sure that there's extra scores looked at so that you can make that top 120, I think there should be an additional fee, maybe even upwards of $250. That's just me spitballing an answer out there. That extra $250 can go a long way when you spread it out over the fact that there's probably going to be North America upwards of 400 to 500 people wanting to get their freaking scores looked at. You take an extra 500 people paying an extra $200 on average because it's $200 more than the initial entry fee, which everybody else paid anyway, and they're still going to pay it. There's an extra $100,000 floating around. Just in North America. That doesn't apply to Europe. That doesn't apply to Oceania. There's just going to be a whole lot more money floating around you. So you take that money and you give it to the team that now needs to go check out the Alex Sorokas of the world. It's as easy as shooting him an email, or at least reading the email that he sent you. And if you shoot him an email and you go, hey, I need that video, you've got a top score in the world, and he doesn't have proof and he can't do it for you, then all of a sudden his name comes out. Boom. Easy. One instance right there. And in the case of Lucas Parker, and there's 950 spots right there, I'd say that it's probably going to be too much to ask to go all the way to 950, but maybe if you are an athlete and you're going to have a top 500 score, similar to how I said Austin Gahoy should be very, very into his videoing and make sure all the weights are shown and make sure that everything is very clear because he's strong as fuck and everyone in that room knew that he had a chance at winning the workout for his freaking content. If you are in the quarterfinals and you're making sure and you think that you've had a chance to have a good score and you want that score to stand up and you want it to be on the leaderboard, you just have to record the thing and at least provide whoever is then going to be on this judging team that I'm proposing reason to believe that you actually did the workout this way you said you did. Is it an awesome plan? There's probably holes in it, but there's holes in every plan. Clearly there's a bunch of holes in this plan. I think it could be better than what's going on here. Money makes the world go round, yeah? Pay money, get in. You don't like it? And don't consider yourself a professional athlete. Don't train yourself year round. My buddy Gunner, he lives down in freaking Tennessee working with the Proving Crew. You do that sort of thing, yeah, you're going to pay an extra $200 to pay your way to get all the scores looked at to make sure that when push comes to shove, you're in the level of competition you want to be in, and you're not being screwed over by the fact that half of the world is doing half of the shuttle run. And again,
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
I'm offering a solution because I don't think it makes any sense for me to just complain. It has to come at the end of the video so that you know why it's worth bringing up. Clearly there's an issue. And I also think it makes a difference coming from me relative to anybody else because I've been in these athletes' positions. I know if I gave everything that I had, like I have in the past, to get to a spot, and it was just sheerly the fact that they're not doing their due diligence as the governing body to at least remove scores that are completely shown to not want to even be there, I'd be pissed. And yeah, I would have paid an extra $200 to make sure those scores were taken out to get my shot at the semifinal. Worked all year to get there. It's worth it. So what do you think? Is there a big issue here? Clearly, I think there's a big issue here. You got to think there's a big issue here. There's plenty of people who are getting screwed. Does this apply to the Noah Olsons of the world? No. And is it fair to pay more money? Go ahead and ask a minor league baseball player, like, how much money do you make? It's like, they don't make very much, but they need to be able to do everything that they can to get to the major leagues where they can make their money. When you're on the cut line, you got to pay to possibly get to the show. And in a way, the minor leagues, they pay with their time for a chance to get to the show. And some of them never make it. And that's just the way freaking life works. Sometimes you don't make it, but there's no participation trophies. Make it analytical, make it fair, get everyone where they want to get. If you like this sort of thing, subscribe to the channel. If you're as pissed as I am, share it on your freaking Instagram or Facebook or whatever so other people see it. They see that there's clearly a big issue. This is as bad as I've ever seen there being an issue on the leaderboard, so I made a pretty freaking long video about it and put a lot of work into it. So help me out, share it. Taking down the Savon podcast. He only has like 4,000 or 5,000 more subscribers than I do at this point.
But now I'm kind of getting on the Andrew Hiller bandwagon.
We're on a freaking freight train to go rail these people. We're coming for you, Richard. 330,000 subscribers. That's nothing. It'll happen in like 3 days, whatever. Andrew Hiller out.